So I would like to invite here on stage for the final presentation Valerian Banu, who is the product manager of HootSuite, the social media management tool.
Thanks, Lucian. Gosh, it's an honor for me to have the occasion of speaking in front of a room filled with product people. My name is Valerian. I hope we can get the slides up as well. And today I want to tackle the subject of managing early stage products which barely got off the ground. And I want to share with you today a personal product development framework which I've developed during the 2 startups that I try to build. So, a little bit about myself. I had 2 ventures into the startup space. The first one was, like Lucian well said, in the hardware industry. It was called DaisyPi, and I will talk extensively about it in our talk. The second one was in the digital marketing space. It focused on interactions in brick-and-mortar shops using the iBeacons technology. Its name was Nivalis. Both of them failed in less than a year, and I got the opportunity of joining one of the coolest startups here in Bucharest, UberVu, right at the time when UberVu was acquired by the leading social media management platform, HootSuite. I am also an organizer of the Product Tank meetup, which is a meetup discussing product development issues. And I've also been in Startup Spotlight last year. Since we're at this topic, are there any Startup Spotlight teams in the audience today? Not even one? Yeah, they're probably all in the main stage. I just wanted to congratulate them for making it into the product. It's a really great experience, and I'm sure they're feeling nervous because this year all of the teams will be pitching on the main stage. Getting back to our subject, my talk will not be a post-mortem about the 2 startups that I built. I want to go a little bit in deep with what we've built with DaisyPi and the 3 lessons that stuck with me during that period. Based on those lessons, I developed a framework, a set of guidelines which can be applied when building new products. It's perfect for early stage startups which don't really have a plan ahead of them, but it can also work inside organizations which want to maybe expand their product portfolio using the popular method intrapreneurship, meaning having an entrepreneur inside the organization. And I want to conclude with why I think product-focused teams make a difference. So, what is DaisyPi? What was DaisyPi? It was a smart monitoring and surveillance device. So let's break it down a little bit. Monitoring. It had sensors that measured the temperature in the room, air pressure, and different gases for assessing the air quality of your room. Surveillance. It also had a video camera and an infrared movement sensor which could detect intruders when you were not at home, when you were at work or in vacation. And it was smart because all of this was baked by a cloud application which collected all the data from the DaisyPi and pushed notifications to your mobile device. It was a pretty extensive product. We wanted to do the all-in-one solution to a lot of problems. That's mainly because we were just starting out. For all four of us, this was the first project we were doing by ourselves. And we thought that we had this passion, this foolishness that you usually have when you barely start up. You probably know it, you probably felt it as well when you're feeling you're working for an awesome idea and you're changing the world. Your mission is to change the world. That was us in the beginning, and we wanted to do a lot of stuff with DaisyPi. And it pretty much worked a little bit. We had this drive starting with the first hackathon that we went to, which we won. We continued with the same year with Startup Spotlight, where we managed to end up in the top 8 final teams. And then we were invited to a workshop in Budapest for the most promising tech startups in the CEE region, Central and Eastern European region. We were geeks. We all had ideas, crazy ideas. I assure you that in every startup, there's not going to be a lack of ideas because the members of that founding team are all bright people. The problem is with structure, with organizing those ideas, and establishing a common, let's say, a common big picture. So together, all of you should paint a consistent story. Like, for example, when a group of robbers are caught by the police, they all have a consistent alibi when they are being questioned. So each one of us had a lot of crazy ideas. I'll just give you one example. So Raresh, which was our main hardware guy, he attached to the DaisyPi an accelerometer, which is a small sensor that detects movement. And he wanted to detect when earthquakes were happening. So Raresh, instead of watching the news or checking Twitter to see if there was an earthquake, he wanted to go and check the graphs of DaisyPi and see that it was an earthquake. I told him that it's a bad idea and we should focus on something else, but he actually continued doing. So we had this problem of organizing, of coming together and establishing what exactly are we going to do from this pool of ideas that we had. No more slides. Anyways, the second story I want to tell you about DaisyPi. It's around. Okay. So, resolving the big problem with the ideas, we pretty much later on discovered that we could take all those ideas and start putting them in writing. It was super counterintuitive at first because we were all thinking, why am I wasting my time building a document instead of actually fixing some problems, actually writing some code, actually going for looking for customers. It was hard. It took us a while to understand the gain, what this change of flow would bring us. But we started nothing fancy, with just a shared Google Drive document and a bunch of documents where we just asked all the simple questions that everyone usually asked us. So, what is your product? What is the need that you are resolving? What's the business opportunity in the market? Who is your customer? How does a day of the customer look like? We just started with the little things. Then technical details, logs, and we found out that they actually worked. So when we had questions, when we didn't know exactly what was the context, when we were working on something, we would go to that document, that reference document, where we detailed what exactly did we wanted to build. So it took us a while, but it was a really good thing that we discovered it. My second story is about ownership. It was last year, and we were close to the How to Web conference. And we had a week where it was total silence. So none of the team members didn't send an email, a status update, nothing. It was all silence. We were all busy with our day jobs, and we knew we had this other project we were building in our spare time, but we kind of left it aside. So I stepped up because I saw that Startup Spotlight opened the applications for the program. I stepped up, rallied all the team members, and pitched them why we should go to Startup Spotlight. And I managed to convince them, and I also insisted in meeting regularly in order to build the application, improving our hardware, so we had better chances of being accepted, and it worked. We actually managed to get into the program, which was super awesome. So the lesson that I learned from this is in each team, one of the co-founders needs to step up, to assume responsibility, to drive the development a little bit. His passion needs to inspire the others to work alongside him. So he needs to be really driven and also have a positive attitude about it, because things will be shaky along the road. Fights might come up. It's also, this guy needs to resolve conflicts, to choose an option when there are many options on the table, and not only just by his pure gut, but through a more analytical process if it's possible and if the time permits it. What also worked for us was getting people under the same roof. So we did several meetings at my place, at Radesh's place, in a local software shop. We met there, and each time we actually managed to push the project forward. So that's because we were all there, but not just physically. We were also psychically there. We were focusing on the task that we had to do, all of us. And things worked much faster. When you had a problem, you just raised it up. We had a little brainstorming over there and fixed it. No need to exchange emails and lose time and lose focus around this. So this helped us a lot. Each time we managed to get together, we actually managed to accomplish something. My third story started one morning with this headline. So DaisyPi was named one of the top 50 most exciting linked hardwares in Europe. This list was compiled by Robin Waters, which is one of the best tech journalists in Europe. He founded the site tech.eu, which is the best site if you want to follow the European startup scene. And it's a bit funny because at the time when the news came up, we actually discussed of shutting down DaisyPi. But what we learned from this is there's a lot of to gain when you go out. You show yourself to the world. You let people know who you are, what you're building, what you're working on. So this is a picture of Robin exactly 1 year ago. So November 20, 1 year ago, we actually met the guy. He seemed that he liked it so much that he thought we're one of the top 50 hardware companies in Europe. So having this online presence, I think it's vital, it's really important. And this is also one of the things which is counterintuitive, especially for founders which are developers. They start to think, why am I wasting time building a landing page for a product which I don't have? Why am I wasting time posting on Twitter or on Facebook or writing blog posts and describing something which I haven't already built? But it's essential to be there, to be out there, to people, so people know about you, so people can reach out to you. And we had a funny story around this. So the server where our landing page was hosted got hacked, and on our contact email address we started receiving only spam email. During the time when the post from Robin was posted, we got a spike on Facebook. Messages started to come in. People were asking details about the product. They wanted to know where can they buy it. We also had invitations to interviews for hardware accelerators. And all of this through Facebook. So social media should not be neglected, because it's a way for your company to connect with your audience. So all of the messages that we got through Facebook were from people who genuinely were interested in what we were doing. Real life people. Instead, on our contact email address, we got only mails about Viagra and all that shit. But in the end, we decided to shut down DaisyPi. It was a cool idea. It was a need in the market for it, but we were not that team with that experience and that focus to bring it to life. So with all these lessons, which I just showed you, I compiled myself a framework, a set of guidelines for how will I improve the process when I'm going to do my second shot at this. Because I already had the idea of building Nivalis. I already went out in the market and asked people, and there was an interest for this kind of product. So I took all of the good parts that I just told you from DaisyPi, and I started doing them from the beginning in my second time with Nivalis. And the results were pretty incredible. I mean, we were, because I'll go through them one more time. So I was talking at some point about that person who owns it, who owns the product, who gets the rest of the team around him, which drives the whole team with his passion, which can can be there to showcase the product at certain events, can resolve small conflicts when there are multiple choices to be available, which one to choose. So, second one, which I adopted, writing the ideas down. So I did this time from start, writing everything, answering all the questions, the plan that we had for version 1. We also wrote down the pitches, the 30-second pitch, the 1-minute pitch, 2-minute pitch, 5-minute pitch. And this was helpful because everyone from the team could spread out the word when we went to an event. There wasn't, so not only the person who owned it, who was the driver for everything, not only him could go out and talk about it, the other team members could do it as well. Another benefit of writing our ideas down, at some point we had a new member who joined the team. It was super easy for him to get going because we already answered all the questions along the way. So when we told him what we wanted to do, and he also checked those documents, he immediately understood what it is that we want to build exactly. Painting a consistent story, so this painting that having the same alibi. So it's really important that all the team members get together and understand what is the big picture, what is the final destination that we're doing for this iteration, for example. So instead of everyone going at it with their own ideas, we have a common endpoint for everything. Getting people under the same roof. Although I know personally, I know an example of distributed teams which worked perfectly. I know there's a lot of writing about how to manage distributed teams, and they work. I'm pretty sure they worked. From my personal experience, the best results we got was when we got together and stood side by side and started coding, answering questions, everything on the spot. Much faster, much productive. So I personally recommend, at least in the beginning, trying to rally together all the team members together in order to push the things forward faster. Because in the beginning there are a lot of questions. And the easiest way to spread out the information and debate it is if you guys are all together over there. The last idea was marketing is your friend. So with the success we had with our Facebook page and our landing page, for me it was clear that we actually needed to pursue this again. So having that channel where people can reach out to us, put us questions and all that. This should not be neglected, although it might sound that's a waste of time. And the thing is that later on, when I joined HootSuite, I joined a real product development team and with a real product management environment, I discovered that all of my ideas from my framework were actually found in, let's say, the product management book. So that person who owns it, who drives the project forward, who also helps in painting the consistent story, it's called formally the product manager. The idea of writing stuff down along the way, it's exactly as writing specs. Painting a consistent story, it's actually building the roadmap for our product. Gathering people together and working together is similar to the Scrum stand-ups, where people get together and they share what are they going to work at and what are the problems. And in case there are problems, they can get fixed pretty easily. A colleague can come in and help him. And of course, there is a marketing side to all of this, which is formally called product marketing, which pretty much handles exactly what we handled, let's say, in the in my experiment. So the landing page, explaining the product to the customers, packaging it, training materials, and all that. Yeah. So what I wanted to show you guys today is officially, if you want to do it by the book, product management or product development is really, really complex. So it has a big part with, which covers design. You saw in the other presentations, customer interviews, user testing. It's really, it has a lot of things under its umbrella, being the interface to all of the 3 parts of your company, to the development team, to the business side, to your customers. And you're all thinking, especially when we're talking about startup teams, so startup groups of 4, how am I going to do all of this when we are just 4 people and we have to handle several roles? The thing is, it might be intimidating, but some of the stuff, especially the ones which I aligned here, are pure common sense. So indeed, product management is complicated. If you want to do it by the book, you need a bigger team, a lot of work. But you can actually start with something easy at first. So this framework of mine is just an example of how you can set up a foundation and have a healthy product development cycle, and ensuring that the team members also are in line with this way of building, of focusing more on products, or not just building ideas at random. And I think this is important because I consider that teams which are product focused from the beginning make a difference from the whole rest of the teams, the startups, which most of them fail. I think the ones which are more organized, more structured, who focused on the product first, have a chance of succeeding. And I'm not the only one who thinks this, so I brought some friends. Guy Kawasaki, you probably know, he's a renowned author of startup books and courses. He's been the chief evangelist at Apple and at Motorola. He has a huge experience in the startup world. And this is a quote of him from a talk he did 2 weeks ago. So he gets asked to review pitches every day, multiple times a day. His advice is, don't focus on perfecting your pitch. Focus on the prototype. The goal of your company is not to have a great pitch, but to have a great product. The best pitch you can make is, let me show you what it does. I think this summarizes perfectly. The second example is from Vladimir Wane, which is one of the best Romanian entrepreneurs and product people I know. He also saw this gap of missing products in the market. So his quote from his personal blog is, "Why isn't Bucharest more like Silicon Valley?" There are, of course, the obvious factors, but there is one that I think Romania and Europe in general misses the most, and that's product people. So I think it's our job to evangelize this way of starting a new project, a new product, by being product focused from the beginning. And before I end, I have just one last story. So last year at How to Web, the most frequent word, the word which was on everyone's lips, was startups. Everyone was involved in a startup. Everyone was doing one, was trying to build one, investing in one. Startups everywhere. I really hope that this year at How to Web 2014, the buzzword might be products. I really hope so. Thank you guys for listening, and have a great conference.
Thank you, Vali. So, anybody wants to ask a few questions?
Hey, thanks for sharing your insights about DaisyPi. You said at a point you had minor disagreements about the product, like for the accelerator. How would you do it different now? Did you have any procedures, like if you disagree with one of your co-founders, he wants to put some extra feature on a product, but you don't believe in it? Or how did you deal with it then, and how would you deal with it now?
Right now,
Yeah.
I would settle it with numbers.
Okay.
So let's go out, get a bunch of our friends, a few people, put them, test the ideas, and see which one wins in numbers. I had a lot of times the possibility of choosing between more than one good ideas. What do you do in that case? You need to test it. This is my advice. Back then, when the team was really small, there needed to be at least one guy who pushed it a little bit. And that guy usually was the one which went out to talk with customers, who went out to events and got feedback from business partners, from mentors. Usually that guy, because he knows the market a little bit better, he might have a stronger saying in what goes in versus another proposal.
Thank you.
Hi. So you told us a lot about DaisyPi and how you improved the process during working with your colleagues and so on. And I lived with the impression that almost in the end you were doing fine. So I kind of didn't understand why you failed. Was it a failure or what happened?
The
I
second
didn't
one
get
was,
that.
Nivalis was my second attempt at a startup, was also a failure. And there's also a lesson to learn from this. So I told you that there needs to be a guy who has the passion, the drive to get all the people together and work on that project. If that guy leaves, there are extremely big chances that the whole project will fail. If the guy which is most passionate about it decides to leave, the others will just settle, to say so. So this was what happens in the second time around.
Hi, I'm Dragoș.
Hello, Dragoș.
I missed the first half of your presentation, sorry. Do you think that the failure came from missing a decision maker in your team and a really good manager, but manager, not a product manager, as in team manager and everything, a CEO?
Well, we kind of discussed two failures, but I'm assuming you're referring to the first one with DaisyPi. With DaisyPi, yeah, we had problems in the business area as well. For all four of us, this was the first time we were trying to do this stuff. There was a lot of new things, a lot of a lot of stuff that we didn't know. We actually didn't know how to build a product that people would pay for. We were just building like for ourselves. We were some geeks which were just hacking around a flower pot. So what had it missed, CEO? We would have needed some business vision. That's absolutely true. But in the end, it's the team just wasn't the one. We were unexperienced. It just didn't work.
One more question? Okay. I guess this is
Thank
all.
you, guys.
Thank you, Val. Let's give it up for Vale.